You thought you got away, didn't you? No, not even close. Tonight, I'm giving you a task. You must find me facts about one of the greatest actresses the world has ever seen. Michelle Yeoh. Go.
I don't know who that is.
Well, you're about to find out everything you need to know about Michelle Yeoh. All right, welcome back, Big Fact Hunters. I hope you had a great time finding your way around facts about my favorite actress, Michelle Yeoh. I'm not going to muck around. I'm not going to have any kind of weird banter in before. I'm not going to have any kind of lead up. I'm not going to have any kind of weird segues before we
Counts,
start.
is it?
I'm not
This
going
is
to
the
have
weird
any kind of preamble, nothing like that. Not even a preface to it. We're just going to go for it right now. Sam Smith.
All right. Here's the winning fact. Michelle Yeoh is the full-blown reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe. Michelle Yeoh was born on August the 6th, 1962. She was born in a place in Malaysia, I'm not kidding, called Ipoh. I-P-O-H. It might be E-Pow, but I think it's Ipoh. Anyway, August the 6th, 1962 is the day after Marilyn Monroe died, which is August the 5th, 1962. And I know that because my birthday is August the 5th, 1985.
I'm 90% sure that we have had in the past a Marilyn Monroe reincarnation in a previous fact.
I'm pretty sure Sam's claimed to be the reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe previously.
We talked about it because we said that reincarnation probably takes 23 years, which would be the case if it were me. But we decided that it was actually only one day because it takes a bit of time for the soul to travel. And I found out that it's 14,000 kilometers between where Marilyn Monroe died in Los Angeles to Ipoh in Malaysia, where Michelle Yeoh
What's the time difference like? Could it have been like a New Zealand England thing where our day ahead is the day behind in England?
That would be the dateline. There would be the dateline in between, and it would be a day.
So it might be the same day, David.
Did this fact become even better?
Yeah.
No.
And then I just want to layer another layer on top of this. Michelle Yeoh is a famously Buddhist, reincarnation being a pretty central tenet.
Love that movie.
Yep. I think you've solved Michelle Yeoh.
I think we've done it. We're done. This is it. I'll take the win. Thanks very much, everyone.
Jennifer Jewel, can I please get a fact from you?
Well, my fact is that Michelle Yeoh, obviously she's very famous for her martial arts skills. And she got into martial arts, as most people do, through Miss World.
Yeah.
So in 1983, when she was 20, she won the Miss Malaysia World contest. So she went to the 1983 Miss World pageant in London. She didn't win, but a few months later, she went to the Miss International Tourism Quest pageant, which was in Australia, and she did win that. And off the back of that, appeared in a television commercial with Jackie Chan. And that brought her to the attention of a Hong Kong film company who put her in a couple of films, including 2 years later, a film with Jackie Chan, which was 1985's action comedy Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars. And they actually convinced her to change her name. So they thought Michelle Yeoh was too foreign sounding and she'd be more marketable to an international audience if she was called Michelle Khan, which is still quite a foreign name. Like, it's not an Anglo name, but
that's an out of this world name. Khan.
Yeah.
And she's ended up in Star Trek as well. So
yeah.
Kenny, can I please have a fact?
Michelle Yeoh has previously been in a range of relationships, as you'd expect. But one of her first marriage was to a Hong Kongese businessman. And this guy has the best name
ever
in the world. And his name, I'm just going to say, his name is Dixon Poon, which, if you have the mind of a 5-year-old like I do, clearly Sam does, is funny. Like, this isn't the first time I've heard of his name. So he donated a whole lot of money to the University of Oxford, and on the proviso that his name was put on the business school there, and the Oxford said, like, it could just be the Poon building or the Dixon building, and then, no.
I like that it's the school of like business time as well.
Exactly.
Jen, can I please have a fact from you?
I would like to take us into the realm of the metaphysical. and
Please
to
do.
point out that Michelle Yeoh has a bit of history with the multiverse. So obviously she was in the incredible Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I saw a couple of days after seeing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which was 2 multiversal alternate reality mind melt movies. Broke my brain a little bit. But she has a little bit of history with Benedict Cumberbatch, who of course played Khan in the 2013 Star Trek film Into Darkness, because she is also in the Star Trek universe as a character called Philippa Georgiou, who died and then was re-encountered as the mirror universe version of herself by her crewmates later on down the line.
Spoiler alert, by the way. I
Oh,
had seen
sorry.
it. That series was legitimately the thing that made me fall in love with Michelle Yeoh. That she did that kind of like the really amazing like hero, and then immediately the next time you see her, she's like, vindictive, evil empress. It's just so good. He's just so great. Nathan Kenny, can I please have a fact from you?
Yeah, I'd just like to point out, because it can lead to errors, that Michelle Yeoh is not the same as Michelle Yeoh. So when you Google Michelle Yeoh, you may, if you're taking part in a comedy podcast, be led down a bit of a rabbit hole by Michelle Yeoh, who is a socialite and the heiress to
A what now?
a socialite and the heiress to a billionaire.
socialite?
You mean socialite?
Socialite. You mean socialite?
You can also say socialite.
No, you can't.
Anyway,
You absolutely can't.
That's when you're an elite socialite. You're a socialite.
Anyway, so granddaughter of the billionaire who owns YTL Corporation, which does all the infrastructure right across Malaysia and some of Southeast Asia.
This is Liverpool again.
So proper crazy rich Asian. Name
Yeah.
is Michelle Yeoh, exactly the same as Michelle Yeoh. And I just wanted to point that out in case anyone else came across this in their Google.
My next fact is going to be, did you know that Michelle Yeoh is a famous socialite?
Can I get a fact from you? Samuel Smith.
Michelle Yeoh's dream was to be in Nirvana. And this is, of course, I'm talking about the Buddhism thing a bit more. She's a Buddhist. And Vic Uni had a study here in New Zealand to see what was the most trusted religion in all of New Zealand, and Buddhism came top. And what's the one that they do that is terrible and like Brian Tamaki does? Evangelical Christians came bottom, of course. Buddhism is listed as being the 3rd most common religion in New Zealand. And here's the thing, Buddhism is not a religion. It's not a religion. They don't have a god. There's no, it's just a way of life. It's like a meditation thing.
It's more of a guideline.
That's right. That's right. So although our 3rd most common religion in New Zealand is not a religion.
They do have deities in Buddhism.
Yeah.
The Buddha is considered a divine being, isn't he?
No, Buddha's a guy. It's just a guy. All the people that they look up to are just dudes. And because Buddhism would exist without Buddha. Like, it doesn't need a god. It doesn't need someone to look up to, because it's just all about reaching enlightenment, whatever that is. Turning on a switch, I guess.
Cool.
I want to go back to New Zealand religions.
Yeah.
There are more Jedi than there are Buddhists.
100% yes. It goes atheists, Jedis, Buddhists, Christians and shit.
We have at least one Pastafarian,
Yeah.
God.
because he sued for the right to wear his colander on his head in his driver's license photo.
So people like that are just so embarrassing to atheists. It's like, oh, please don't. You're just making us look like dickheads in front of the other non-religions.
That's right.
There's a survey coming up. What do you call it? Yeah.
Census.
Census.
Yeah, it's called a
Census
census.
coming up early next year. And I just want to put in a plug for putting down onanism as your religion.
No, we're not doing
because it
onanism.
sounds like a religion.
But it just
sounds
means you're a
religion, but
wanker.
it really isn't. So please put down onanism, ONANISM.
What is
And then-
onanism?
Michael
you've written
Kellogg
it
would be
down-
so disappointed in
Yeah.
you, Kenny.
Don't do
After
this.
you've
Don't
written it down, go and Google what it is. Okay.
Don't do this because then the government has to divert funds to like look after onanisms and it takes it away from orphans and people who need,
But
You know what
necrophiles.
onanism is, Tom?
I
Honestly,
don't.
this is a Michelle Yeoh podcast.
Oh, thank you, Jen, for miming that on this. If you're listening to the
The
audio,
sin of Onan, who spilled his seed on the ground instead of putting it in the womb of a good woman like the Lord wanted. Literally,
Yeah.
that's where it comes from.
Kenny, can I please have a fact from you?
Michelle Yeoh's dad, and this is the proper Michelle Yeoh, not the other Michelle Yeoh,
Thank you for clarifying.
The
is
social
world famous in Malaysia, not for being Michelle Yeoh's dad, but for founding Sri Maju Buses, which is a bus service that at very reasonable prices will take you all over Malaysia and down to Singapore. And so he was a politician, he was a bit of an activist, and he founded this very egalitarian transport service. And so Michelle Yeoh was just the cherry on top.
Would you say that the
Ah.
buses are so frequent and cover so much of the island that they can go everywhere all at once?
Sam, can I have a fact, please?
did you know that Tomorrow Never Dies was a typo?
No.
So Michelle Yeoh, her first Hollywood film was Tomorrow Never Dies, which is a James Bond film. You may have seen it. It was the first James Bond film that wasn't based on an Ian Fleming novel. So they had to make up a new story. They thought that they were going to base it on Hong Kong being transferred back from British rule to Chinese rule, and then they realized that that was happening as the movie came out, and so it would be weird if they did that, and it would potentially annoy some people, maybe the Chinese. So they decided against this, but they decided that they were going to name the movie. It was inspired by the Beatles song "Tomorrow Never Knows." And then they thought they better change that because otherwise it's just a Beatles song title, and that would be weird. So they pitched Tomorrow Never Lies, and then someone wrote it down wrong. They had weird handwriting. Someone misread it as Tomorrow Never Dies. That got pitched to the network, got pitched to MGM, and they said, "Shit, yeah, we love Tomorrow Never Dies. Let's call it Tomorrow Never Dies." And then the people who actually made the movie were like, "Oh no, we didn't mean it to be called that." And they were like, "Tomorrow Never Dies, it is."
Jennifer Jewell, can I have a fact from you?
Well, to keep on the James Bond theme, 10 years before she worked with 007, she worked with 001. So, as Sam's just told us, in 1997, Michelle Yeoh was in Tomorrow Never Dies. But in 1987, she starred in a film called Magnificent Warriors, where she played a 1930s Chinese secret agent who was sent to investigate the Japanese occupation near Tibet during the Second Sino-Japanese War. And that agent on the ground, who is her character's contact, is Secret Agent 001.
What?
Wow.
And she's got a history of being in pretty political films. So she was blacklisted by the Burmese government because of her participation in The Lady, where she played Aung San Suu Kyi. And she was refused entry to Myanmar in 2011 and was deported from Myanmar the same day because the Burmese government were not pleased with her portrayal of Aung San Suu Kyi. She was like the prime minister in exile of Myanmar. She was like the democratically elected leader, but then she was put in isolation, and then she made some really dodgy comments about the genocide of an ethnic population. I'm not going to express an opinion on it because I have little information and it's very complicated. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh was in a movie where she portrayed this woman, and then the Burmese government blacklisted her and deported her when she tried to get into Myanmar.
I wonder these days if Michelle Yeoh would be able to play all these characters, because she's from Malaysia. She's played Chinese characters, Hong Kong characters, and Korean, Japanese. She's done it all. She's the Cliff Curtis of racist acting.
But also not entirely in Western films. Like her start was in like Chinese films, and she played Chinese characters.
When she was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, she learned Mandarin, but phonetically.
No, she didn't. Yeah, she didn't learn it. She did an Arnold Schwarzenegger in Hercules in New York and just learned all her lines phonetically. She speaks 3 languages, but it's Malay, Cantonese, and English. She doesn't speak Mandarin.
So it was quite controversial that all of the characters in Memoirs of a Geisha were played by Chinese actresses instead of Japanese ones. So yes, fully comprehend that.
Was she involved in the production of that one? Is she partly to blame for that?
He has produced lots of movies. But sorry,
Yeah.
just harking back to your original point, I always find it funny when secret agents are number one or number two, purely because in Austin Powers, who does number two work for? And I just can't get it out of my head.
Also, presumably, it gives some information to, the other side. If they capture you and find out if you're number 4, there's at least 3 more of you out there.
I like to think that it's like, have you ever heard of the sheep prank that people pull on? So you get 6 sheep, you number them,
Oh,
1, 2,
yeah.
3,
4, 5,
5,
7.
6, 7,
Yeah, it's a great joke.
and you let them loose somewhere, and then they spend ages looking for number 4 who's not there.
Sorry, we're going to take a quick break and have a chat to one of our sponsors. Hi, I'm Radio Personality. Do you suffer from ailment? Like many demographics, ailment is a major issue that causes a number of further issues. That's why I use Product. Product is the #1 treatment used by specialists to treat ailment. Product is scientifically formulated from ingredients, collected from locations, and packaged in containers. Product can suit your individual needs spatially, financially, and generally. Product is adjective. I use Product every time frame, and I couldn't feel more emotion. So if you want to join the millions of individuals who are finding relief from ailment, use our offer code BONA420 to get percentage off Product. Product. It has properties.
Wow. We could use that every week.
Ooh, Sam.
I think I'll tell you this fact. Michelle Yeoh's first acting gig was in a commercial with Jackie Chan. I don't know what the commercial was for, but she was riding a bicycle. I watched it, but I couldn't enunciate it. And then she was in every movie that she's ever been in, and then she was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did I say that? Everything Everywhere All at Once? Yes.
Yeah.
But interestingly, that movie was initially written for a different actor. They needed someone who could be funny and emotional and do sweet ass kung fu, and that person was Jackie Chan. She stole that movie from the person she'd originally been in a commercial with, which I think
so
is
cool.
lovely. And I found out a few little facts about Jackie Chan. For example, I found out that he was born in Hong Kong the day after the US did one of their nuclear tests on the Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands.
So he's a reincarnation of the nuclear bomb?
Or SpongeBob.
No, his genes were like inspired by him, and that's why he's so kick-ass, because he's semi-nuclear.
One of my favorite facts, because one of the things I still haven't seen it for reasons that will come up, but I really want to see Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I read a blurb from the director, and the director was talking about it, and he's like, so you're writing this, and this woman who like lives in her fantasy world, and she's like getting pulled in lots of different directions by many different thoughts, and it's so we wanted to like make it like a kind of like ADHD. But then I thought, I don't want to make this offensive to people with ADHD, so I went and did some research on ADHD, and then at 4 a.m. in the morning, realized that I diagnosed myself with ADHD. Wrote the show. Jen.
She is a Chevalier of the Legion of Honor in France. She's named a Chevalier of the Legion of Honor for her contributions to international culture in 2007. Then she was promoted to officier by Nicolas Sarkozy in 2012, which is unusual because one of the criteria for being made an officier is that you have to have spent 8 years as a chevalier, and she spent 5. And then 5 years after that, in 2017, she was promoted to commandeur by François Hollande. So you are required to get these promotions. You are required to they require the flawless performance of one's trade, as well as doing more than ordinarily expected. And they have maximum quotas for exactly. They have maximum quotas for each of their levels. So the highest level is Grand Croix, and as at 2010, they had space for 8 more people in that level. The next level down is Grand Officier. They have 64 too many in that level, as at 2010. And then Michelle Yeoh's rank of Commandeur. They had 1,759 too many in 2010 and 7,032 too many officier, but they still had space for just over 39,000 chevalier.
This is where I say it's chevalier, not socialite.
I looked into the Legion of Honor and like things around it. So members of the French Parliament can't receive the order except for valor in war, and ministers are specifically precluded from nominating their accountants, which feels like a specific situation which has been remedied.
What a slap in the face.
And in 2012, the same year that Michelle Yeoh was made an officier, Aung San Suu Kyi was also inducted into the Legion. And that was the year after Michelle Yeoh played her in The Lady. And also
Very
in
cool.
2020, Emmanuel Macron awarded the Legion of Honor to London, the city.
What?
You've got to do
Yeah,
it.
so this Legion of Honor, it's a French thing, right?
They reckon there's about 1 million inductees, but they've lost the records for the early ones in the 1800s.
It sounds a bit like a bullshit thing.
It's real weird.
Sounds
You
like
look
they're
into it and it's just like, they're like, it has to be French people, unless they've done good stuff, in which case they cannot be French.
I do find it funny that someone who's a committed Buddhist is a kick-ass kung fu practitioner,
Yeah.
and B, has been given a sword and been made a knight.
Yeah.
Kenny, can I have a bit of effect from you?
We've talked previously about, I think it's Ipo rather than Ipu.
It's Ipo.
It's EPO. I looked it
EPO.
up, but it's IPO.
It sounds a bit like a Teletubby. But so there's quite a few Hong Kongese actresses actually born in that city. So if you look at who's from there, there's a number of world famous in Hong Kong, been through the Hong Kong film system, which is amazing for a reasonably small city. It's also the cleanest canonically the cleanest city in Malaysia, which is quite a feat because it used to be known for its tin mines, but the tin mines all closed down.
Wow.
And it's been turned into a real tourist city because it's got all this lovely colonial architecture and all that sort of thing. And apparently it's lovely to go and visit. But
I love
Probably-
that. I love that the
they're
town
probably
called
also-
Ipu is the cleanest town.
It's probably, if it was a tin mine, they probably got very good at recycling.
they don't have a heart, right?
Yeah, that's right. Buddy Epson, who was the Jed Clampett in the Beverly Hillbillies, he was originally going to play the Tin Man, but he couldn't wear the makeup, so he breathed it in and got real sick, and so he had to give the role to Jack, the guy that Jackie
Like
Chan who
in-
played the Tin Man.
IRL, what's the Bond girl who dies in Goldfinger by being covered in gold paint and then she inhales the fumes and dies?
Oh, probably like Vagina-y Slut or something like that. Their all names are like that.
Yeah.
Fast facts. I want 3 fast facts, one from each of you, funnily enough. And we're going to start with Jen.
Michelle Yeoh has had a very varied career. She's in Last Christmas, which I still need to watch. She's about to be seen as a sword elf in the Witcher prequel Blood Origin, which premieres this Christmas Day. And she's also the soothsayer in 2011's Kung Fu Panda 2. And she's pulled a Capaldi. So she's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe twice. She has a cameo as a Ravager in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And then obviously she's Young Nan in Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. But the film that I want to talk about is her first lead role, her third film in 1985, a Hong Kong action film called Yes, Madam. She's a police superintendent trying to retrieve a microfilm which has been taken by low-level thieves who are called Aspirin and Strepsil. And there's a third character in their crime ring who is called Panadol.
Incredible.
So Michelle Yeoh is an inspiration to coffee making BA holders everywhere. So Michelle Yeoh has a Bachelor of Arts and has gone real far. So you can too.
Michelle Yeoh was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which a parody of that was the name of a famous music tour. It was called Crouching Fish, Hidden Finger, and it was a tour of 2 of my favorite bands, Real Big Fish and Goldfinger, and it was a fantastic show. I went to see in 2005, and I really. I had a poster of it on my wall for about a decade until my cat ripped it down.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm going to have to choose my favorite fact, even though I think on average Kenny did better. The Michelle Yeoh getting into martial arts through Miss World, it's very interesting. It's kind of funny that Gal Gadot gets a lot of that, and no one really recognizes Michelle Yeoh for that. Kenny Dixon Poon is great. It is very good, and and that her dad has a bus, has many buses. That's also excellent. I do want to give it though to Sam for stealing Everything Everywhere All at Once from Jackie Chan, because she's great. She's so much better than Jackie Chan, and she deserves it.
I'm so glad that my intense knowledge of Michelle Yeoh has proven fruitful, and go the All Blacks.
Well, if you enjoyed all of our facts about Michelle Yeoh, and if you think you can do better, then comment below, like and subscribe, follow us on our handles, share this with a friend or enemy. That's even better. And we will all see you next week for a great fact from Samuel Smith.